Got our good friend Jeremy Martin with us from our professional advisory board for Fit Life. Jeremy, want to talk about the warm up, and this warm up is a big misnomer. A lot of people just think that it just means being physically warm. So in the summertime, you don't have to warm up. If I wear a jacket, I don't need to warm up. Let's talk about the warm up. What does a warm up mean?
Okay, so I'd like to start this one off with a great sort of anecdote that I've heard in the weightlifting world. When people talk about warming up, they always bring up an old Russian champion from the 80s and 90s. And what he was famous for doing was in his warm-up, quote unquote, he would put on a sauna suit for 5 to 10 minutes and smoke a couple of cigarettes. Is the image of Olympic caliber health. But the people would say he got warm, like he raised his body temperature right off the bat and he was ready to train. And I hate that as an argument for just generally warming, because they fail to mention the fact that he would then walk to the platform, grab an empty bar, and do probably 10 to 20 minutes of bar technique work, which is pure preparation for his actual training for the day. He's getting his tissues ready. He's putting himself in the positions that he's going to load later. And he's getting his nervous system ready to fire at the rates that he needs it to fire for that workout. And that's truly what we look for in a full warm up.
So let's talk about that specifically. So it's, when you say warming up, it's really not warming up in the sense that you're getting your body temperature any warmer, or
Right.
getting the muscle tissue warmer. It's really in the sense that you're preparing that tissue to execute, to fire. Is that correct?
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. Part of the goal should be to increase your overall body temperature, because that means that the muscle down to the middle of it, the core, is warmer and can then fire better. A slightly warmer environment for the muscle means that it's going to work optimally. But just because you are hotter doesn't mean that you're going to perform better. And it doesn't mean that you can't get hurt. And what we try to do in our warm-ups is prevent any injuries and make the movements look better.
Right. And I would think that you'd ultimately want to get, you got 30 minutes to be in the gym, or 45 minutes. You're going to do X number of sets. You don't want to waste 2 or 3 of them, of your working sets, trying to get in the right form and,
Exactly.
muscles that aren't flexible, and getting them, and you don't want, you want them contracting at 100% of their capability, so they're performing at their best. So that warm up is vital. Now let's talk about specifics with a warm up. Now, you talked about that Russian weightlifter, and he did 20 minutes, so for a lot of guys that would be half a workout just warming up.
Absolutely.
How much time would you spend? I know how much time I spend, 56. And so I spend probably 20 minutes just warming up before I train. But then my workouts are incredible.
Right. And that's the thing is, if you're prioritizing time, then it's figuring out what movements are going to help you most for that workout for the day.
Right.
It kills me when I see guys who come into the gym and spend an hour with some tubing, a band, a ball, a roller, 2 balls taped together. They've got 1,000 different things, and they're rolling and stretching and prepping every part of their body. And then they're doing a workout that might not involve 90% of what they just worked on.
Right.
It's great to do a recovery day with all of that stuff, but if that's how you spend the first part of every workout that you do, then you're kind of wasting precious time, and not everybody has that much time.
Now that's for somebody that is on a crunch for time.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
So
there's no harm in doing that, though.
No, it's if there's a problem somewhere and you're experiencing pain, or you feel especially tight in an area, then by all means spend as much time as necessary. But if you're just going through the motions on a roller from head to toe every day, then there could be better time spent doing other things.
Understood.
But with the time crunch and for warm up, what I would say is start from general to specific, and that means that the first part should just be based on bringing up your core temperature, especially if we're in the winter months in some places. Where I am, it's pretty cold, and So I spend 5 minutes on an assault bike or on a treadmill, maybe just a regular spin bike, and I'm just moving my body. Especially if I've been sitting in class or in the car or wherever I've been, I need to get my tissues delivered a little bit of blood so that they're ready to go. So, 4 to 5 minutes on the bike doesn't have to be high intensity, just got to get you moving. Once you feel like you're starting to get warm, maybe you've got a little bit of a sweat going, then you think, what am I doing today in my workout, and how can I prepare my body?
So let's say I'm going to do arm curls. What would you tell me?
If you're going to do arm curls, that's, you want your shoulders to be loosened up.
Mm-hmm.
So even something like the shoulder warm-up WOD that you put on there.
Yes,
just
okay.
make sure that you're in a good position while you're doing it. An arms day doesn't have a whole lot of moving parts at one time. So neuromuscularly, it doesn't need a ton of preparation. But starting with light arm curls just to get your body moving. And then another thing that you can do is work your triceps as well, so that you know that the antagonist of that movement, or the opposite muscle of that movement, is on and not going to start shortening and messing up with the other side of the movement.
Right, because every muscle group has its opposite, and it acts
Exactly.
as it moves as well, and is part of the movement, right?
Yeah.
Now, I purposely picked a small muscle group. Now, a bigger muscle group, quads. If you're going to do legs, you're going to be doing squats.
Right.
What are you looking at for a warm up? What do you call a warm up?
So for me, for preparation for squats, I basically start from the feet up. A lot of people don't pay attention to anything other than their hips and maybe their knees when they're squatting, but there are multiple other joints that are involved in this movement. You're loaded right below your neck, and you're moving every joint from there. So making sure that the spine, doesn't move while loaded, and that the hips, the knees, and the ankles move to their optimal range of motion is number one thing. So I start with my ankles. I do things called ankle mobs or ankle mobilizations. That might be sitting in sort of a half kneeling position with my foot out in front of me and rocking my weight forward so that I push my knees over past my toes, or one knee at a time, sorry, but push the knee over past the toes without letting the heel come up off the ground. So all we're doing is working that dorsiflexion, or the forward flexion of the ankle, so that it has full range during the movement. And then you might go to the knees and work some dynamic stretches on the quad, whether that's butt kickers or just pulling up into a nice quad stretch.
Yeah.
And then you're going to work on the hips by maybe doing some body weight squats, or grabbing the rack in front of you and sitting down into the bottom of the squat with that support so you can sit up nice and tall.
Gotcha. Okay. And now how much time would you spend on that? Is that about 20 minutes?
Yeah, if I'm prepping for squats, it's anywhere between 10 and 20 minutes, I would say.
So I think the point here is warming up is absolutely vital in order for your workout to be the most effective it can be, and for you to benefit the most from it, regardless of what kind of training you're doing.
Yeah.
And so you have to be realistic about how much time that is. Most guys go in and throw their arms around a circle a couple times and dive in and do their heaviest bench first set, thinking that, hey, if I go heavy first, I'll have more energy in it. Your body's just not prepared to do that, and so you're not going to be at your best. And another myth is that when you do warm up, it doesn't take anything away from your workout insofar as strength or endurance. It actually adds to it. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, Jeremy, as always, buddy, you're just a tremendous wealth of knowledge. We love talking to you. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Bye-bye.